Imagine training to become a fighter pilot, the kind of elite pilot who flies the most advanced jets in the world. Now imagine being told, just days into pilot camp, that you don't belong there. This is exactly what happened to a determined black woman who dreamed of soaring through the skies in an F-22 Raptor, one of the most powerful fighter jets ever built. Despite the odds stacked against her, she refused to give up. Her story isn't just about flying planes. It's about courage, resilience, and breaking barriers in a world where few look like her, especially in the Air Force's toughest programs. At pilot camp, where pressure is intense and every trainee fights to prove themselves, she faced challenges that went beyond just skill and training. There were moments when doubt crept in, not just from others, but from herself. But what happened next would change everything and leave everyone around her stunned. How does someone who was kicked out of such a demanding program end up not only flying, but landing an F-22? What kept her going when the doors seemed to slam shut? This isn't just a story about success. It's a story about heart, determination, and breaking through barriers that many thought were impossible to overcome. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the obstacles she faced, the unexpected turns in her journey, and the moment that made everyone speechless. Stay with me, because this story is far from over, and it's about to take flight in ways you wouldn't expect. From the very beginning, she knew this path wouldn't be easy. Growing up, she had always been fascinated by airplanes, not just as machines, but as symbols of freedom and possibility. She dreamed of flying jets that seemed untouchable to most people, especially women like her. The Air Force pilot camp was her chance to make that dream real, but it quickly became clear that this world was tough in ways she hadn't fully expected. Pilot camp is designed to push candidates to their limits, mentally, physically, and emotionally. It's a place where only the strongest survive, and every mistake can feel like it confirms the doubts others might have about you. For her, the pressure was doubled. Not only was she breaking barriers as a black woman in a predominantly male environment, but she also faced the quiet judgments and higher expectations that come with being the first or the only in a room. When she was told she had to leave pilot camp, it felt like the end of the road. The official reasons were vague, leaving her with more questions than answers. Was it about her skills, her background, or something else that no one wanted to say out loud? This moment of rejection could have crushed her spirit, but instead, it sparked something deeper inside. She refused to accept the verdict handed to her without a fight. What followed was a story of determination few could imagine. Behind closed doors, she kept training, learning, and preparing, pushing harder than ever before. She knew that landing an F-22 wasn't just about mastering a plane. It was about proving to herself and everyone watching that she belonged there. The tension was high, and the stakes even higher. Would she get another chance? And if she did, could she rise above everything that tried to hold her back? The next part of her journey would reveal the true strength of her spirit, and it was about to take off in ways no one expected. The real struggle wasn't just with the aircraft or the physical demands of pilot training. It was the invisible battle she fought every day. In a world where she was often the only black woman in the room, every look, every whispered comment, and every moment of silence felt like a test. Some of her instructors doubted her abilities openly, while others dismissed her quietly, leaving her to question if she was being judged on her skill or simply on who she was. There were moments when the pressure became overwhelming. The weight of representing an entire community, the fear of failure, and the isolation of being different threatened to break her. But she found allies too, a few fellow trainees who saw beyond the surface and recognized her talent and drive. They became her support system, reminding her that she wasn't alone, even in the toughest moments. Meanwhile, rumors began to swirl around the base. Some said she was given special treatment, others whispered she didn't meet the standards. None of it was true, but these rumors added fuel to the fire, making her fight even harder. Her story wasn't just about flying. It was about overcoming bias, defying stereotypes, and standing up in a place where the odds were stacked against her. Behind the scenes, she was preparing for what many thought was impossible, stepping into the cockpit of an F-22, the most advanced fighter jet in the Air Force. The very thought was enough to send waves of anxiety and excitement through anyone's veins. But for her, it was more than a goal, it was a statement, a way to prove that no setback, no rejection could keep her grounded. As the days passed, the tension grew. Would the military give her the chance to show what she could really do? Or would the barriers around her prove too strong? The answer was coming, but no one was ready for what happened next. Every day felt like walking a tightrope. She knew the next move could either make or break her. The whispers and sideways glances didn't stop, but she refused to let them define her. Instead, she focused on what she could control: her skills, her knowledge, and her mindset. Late nights were spent studying flight manuals, early mornings practicing simulations, and every free moment dedicated to pushing herself harder than anyone expected. The chance to pilot the F-22 wasn't just handed out lightly. It was reserved for the best of the best, and she was well aware of the standards. But deep inside, she believed she was ready, maybe even more ready than some who'd been favored all along. The thought of sitting behind that sleek cockpit glass, controlling one of the most advanced jets on the planet, filled her with a mixture of excitement and nerves she'd never experienced before. The base was buzzing with anticipation. Some doubted her, others silently hoped she would prove them wrong. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she wrestled with the fear that this opportunity might slip away, that all the hard work, all the sacrifice, would end in disappointment again. But giving up wasn't an option. When the orders finally came, the tension was unbearable. Her heart pounded as she walked toward the jet, each step heavier than the last. The team around her watched closely, ready to witness what would happen next. This was the moment when years of struggle, of pushing through rejection and doubt, came down to a single flight. Would she rise and claim her place among the elite pilots? Or would the barriers she'd faced one last time hold her back? The engines roared to life, and as she prepared to take off, everyone held their breath, because this was far more than just a test of skill. This was a battle for respect, for recognition, and for a dream that refused to die. Just as she settled into the cockpit, ready to prove herself, an unexpected voice crackled over the radio, a warning that no pilot wants to hear. A sudden mechanical issue had been detected in the F-22, the kind of problem that could turn a dream flight into a nightmare in seconds. For a moment, everything froze. The other pilots and instructors exchanged worried glances, unsure if she would back down or push through. This wasn't part of the plan. The stakes had just doubled. Not only was she fighting to prove herself in one of the toughest environments in the military, but now she had to do it while handling a potential crisis in the most advanced fighter jet she had ever flown. The pressure was crushing, but retreat wasn't an option. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of every lesson, every challenge that had led her here. As the warning lights blinked and systems alerted, she had to make split-second decisions that would test her skills, focus, and courage like never before. The base was silent, everyone watching, waiting to see how she would react under this unexpected threat. Was this the moment that would break her or make her legend? Meanwhile, behind the scenes, whispers of controversy began to swirl again. Some questioned whether the mechanical issue was truly accidental, or if there were forces at play trying to see her fail. Could this setback be more than just bad luck? The tension inside the base was thick with suspicion, doubts, and unspoken fears. In that cockpit, with the world watching, she faced not only the physical danger, but the invisible weight of proving herself against every obstacle thrown her way. The next moments would define her future, but no one could predict how this intense battle would end. With alarms blaring and every system flickering, she gripped the controls tighter than ever. The mechanical issue threatened to throw her off course, but years of training kicked in. Calm under pressure, she began diagnosing the problem while keeping the F-22 steady in the air. Every second felt like a lifetime, but she didn't let fear take over. Instead, she focused on what she could control: her skills, her instincts, and her will to succeed. Slowly but surely, she managed to stabilize the jet. The warning lights dimmed, and the systems began to respond. The base erupted in cautious relief, but her job wasn't done yet. She still had to bring the aircraft down safely. With nerves of steel, she lined up the approach, eyes sharp, hands steady. One smooth landing later, and she touched down flawlessly, the crowd around the runway breaking into applause. She had done it. Against all odds, she'd have faced rejection, bias, and a near-catastrophic failure, and come out on top. For the first time, the doubts surrounding her began to fade, replaced by respect and awe. The moment wasn't just about flying an F-22. It was about breaking barriers and proving that determination and talent can overcome even the toughest obstacles. But just when it seemed like the story was coming to a close, a new revelation hit. The mechanical issue had not been an accident. An internal investigation uncovered that certain members within the program had tried to sabotage her flight, hoping to see her fail and disappear from the elite ranks. Instead, their plan had backfired spectacularly. Her victory was no longer just personal. It was a statement that the old walls of prejudice were crumbling. And while the fight wasn't over, one thing was clear: she had arrived, and the Air Force would never be the same again. After the investigation exposed the sabotage attempt, things began to change quickly. The people who tried to hold her back faced consequences, and the culture around her started shifting. Her courage and skill forced the Air Force to take a hard look at how it treated those who didn't fit the traditional mold. More doors opened, not just for her, but for others who had long been overlooked. She became a symbol, not just of flying an F-22 or breaking records, but of resilience and determination in the face of adversity. Her story inspired many, showing that barriers can be broken when you refuse to give up, no matter how tough the fight. She didn't just land a jet, she landed a powerful message about equality, strength, and the power of dreams. Her journey wasn't easy. It was marked by challenges, doubts, and moments when quitting seemed like the simpler path. But in the end, she proved that talent and heart could overcome even the harshest obstacles. Her success wasn't just about a pilot's license or a prestigious aircraft. It was about changing minds and opening skies for future generations. Today, her legacy continues to inspire young women and people of color who dream of flying high in careers where they've been historically underrepresented. She reminds us that with courage, perseverance, and belief in yourself, you can soar beyond limits. This story is a testament to breaking barriers and standing tall when the world says you don't belong. It's a reminder that true strength comes from within, and sometimes the biggest victories happen not in the air, but in the hearts and minds of those who dare to defy expectations.